Let us start with a question that you might not have asked yourself before. What is the real reason you feel desire? Not just the physical attraction you feel, but the deeper underlying force that drives you toward women. You might think it's simple biology, instincts, and a primal need to reproduce, right? But what if it's much more complicated than that? What if your sexuality, your desire, your need to connect with women is tied to something bigger than biology, something that's philosophical, even psychological, something that has been around for thousands of years and is still shaping the way you understand yourself today? Think about this desire, and the way we experience it might not just be about the here and now, or even the body. It could be a path, a journey of self-discovery, one that's connected to understanding who you are, what you want, and even what your place is in the world. You might be thinking, that sounds a little deep for a conversation about sex. But stick with me, because we're going to explore this through the eyes of the greatest thinkers of all time, philosophers who've reshaped how we understand ourselves, our relationships, and our desires. Let's start with Plato, yes, the ancient philosopher who probably makes you think of your high school philosophy class. Plato's work, The Symposium, is all about love, all about eros, the desire that we feel for one another. But here's where it gets interesting. For Plato, eros was not just about physical attraction. It wasn't about jumping into bed with someone. It was the desire for beauty, for truth, for wisdom. Plato didn't see desire as something base or trivial. He saw it as the beginning of a journey, a path that starts with physical attraction, but ultimately leads to a quest for something far more meaningful. What does that mean for you as a man? When you feel that intense pull toward a woman, when you feel that desire, that chemistry, it's not just the body talking. It's something deeper. Plato believed that male desire, in its most profound form, is a spiritual longing. It's a yearning to connect, not just physically, but intellectually and emotionally. That initial attraction you feel to someone isn't random. It's the start of a deeper journey toward truth, toward understanding the ideal of beauty. And here's the kicker. That search for beauty, that yearning you feel, is connected to your deeper need to know and to grow. Plato's vision of desire asks us to see sexuality not just as a means to an end, but as the beginning of a deeper exploration of life. Think about it. What if your desire for women was not just about satisfying an impulse, but about growing as a person? What if every time you felt attraction, it was an opportunity to learn more about yourself and the world around you? Now, let's step into a different view, one that takes us to Aristotle, Plato's student. Aristotle had a much more grounded view of desire, but that doesn't mean he dismissed it. He understood that desire is a natural impulse, something ingrained in human nature. But unlike Plato, who saw desire as a path to something divine, Aristotle believed that desire, especially sexual desire, needed to be regulated by reason. This is where Aristotle's philosophy offers something practical. He talks about living a life of balance. Desire, in Aristotle's eyes, wasn't inherently bad. It was natural, okay? But unchecked, it could lead us down a destructive path. The key, according to Aristotle, is moderation. You see, Aristotle didn't say to suppress your desires. He said to understand them, to bring them into balance with your rational mind. As a man, this means understanding your sexuality, not as something that controls you, but as something that you control. Think about the way you experience desire. Do you let it guide you blindly? Or do you use it to understand more about yourself, to grow, and to live a more balanced life? Aristotle would argue that sexuality, like all desires, can be a force for growth if it's directed with wisdom. The real challenge is understanding it and channeling it into positive, meaningful experiences, especially with women. But here's the thing, desire can't always be contained or controlled, right? Sometimes it seems like we're at the mercy of our urges, like we can't help but chase after what we want. And this brings us to someone who had a much darker view of desire, Arthur Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer's take on sexuality might not be the one you want to hear, but it's one that will make you think twice. He believed that desire, particularly sexual desire, was not a force that elevated us, but rather one that kept us trapped in a cycle of frustration. According to Schopenhauer, the will to live is what drives us. It's a blind, irrational force that propels us to desire, to want, to strive for things whether we're aware of it or not. Sexual desire, in Schopenhauer's view, wasn't about love or connection. It was about the biological imperative to reproduce. And because that desire is rooted in something biologically programmed, it never truly leads to fulfillment. Schopenhauer thought that even when we satisfy our desires, there's always another one waiting around the corner. Desire keeps us chasing, but never satisfied. It's a never-ending cycle. You might get what you want, but then what? Do you feel fulfilled, or do you just start chasing the next desire? This view of male sexuality might seem harsh, but it speaks to a real truth. Sometimes, no matter how much you chase after pleasure, it never really fulfills you. It's like that constant thirst that can't ever truly be quenched. So, what's the answer to this endless cycle? Can we find satisfaction, or are we forever doomed to chase after something that never satisfies? Well, to understand that, we have to look at someone who took a very different approach to human sexualities, Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Freud might just give us the key to understanding why we feel the way we do, and how to break the cycle of desire and frustration. Freud didn't think of sexuality as just a biological or social phenomenon. He believed that much of our sexual desires come from the unconscious mind, those hidden parts of our psyche that we not fully aware of. Freud's theory of the Oedipus complex explains that early childhood experiences and relationships, particularly with our mothers and fathers, shape the way we experience sexual desire later in life. But it doesn't end. Therefore, Freud also believed that repression plays a huge role in our desires. He argued that many of our sexual urges are suppressed because they're socially unacceptable or too painful to confront. These repressed desires don't go away though. They surface in different ways, affecting our behaviors and relationships with women. The problem is, we're often unaware of this influence. So, here's the thing. Male sexuality is deeply psychological, tied to things that you may not even fully understand about yourself. It's not just about attraction or biology. It's about the unconscious forces, the hidden desires, and the emotions that shape how you view women and intimacy. Now that we've explored these foundational ideas, let us take a step forward and think about how all this applies to modern relationships. How you, as a man, can start to make sense of your desires, your needs, and your relationships with women today. So, we've journeyed through thousands of years of philosophical thought, from Plato's spiritual quest for beauty to Aristotle's balanced virtue, Schopenhauer's pessimistic view of desire, and Freud's deep dive into the unconscious mind. But let's be real. What does this all mean for you in your everyday life? Navigating your desires, your relationships with women, and your sense of identity as a man in today's world. The thing is, all these ancient and modern perspectives offer us valuable lessons that it's up to you to decide how you're going to apply them. We live in a world where instant gratification is just a click away, where we have more access to sexual content than ever before, where the dynamics between men and women are often shaped by unrealistic expectations. So how do we break free from the cycle of frustration, from the unrealistic portrayals of masculinity and femininity that we see in the media, and find a healthier, more fulfilling way to understand desire? First, let's talk about desire in the modern world. We're bombarded with images, messages, and expectations of what men should want, what women should be, and how relationships should play out. In a sense, society tells us how to experience desire. Men are often expected to pursue women relentlessly, to chase them, to prove their worth through their success, their appearance, their money, or their charm. But here's the catch. Does that actually work? Is chasing after women, following this script society has set for us, really lead to happiness and fulfillment? Or is it just a distraction from something deeper? If you're constantly chasing after women based on what society tells you to want, you might end up feeling empty when you get what you thought you wanted. It's like having a goal, reaching it, and then realizing it wasn't what you truly wanted in the first place. Plato would argue that your desire for women isn't about just fulfilling biological needs. It's not about mindlessly following the chase or satisfying your ego. It's about understanding the deeper beauty in yourself and in others. Plato would tell you that in order to truly understand women, to have deep connections, you need to look beyond the surface. You need to explore what's beautiful and true in them, not just physically, but intellectually and emotionally. And for you, that means starting with your own sense of self-worth. If you're constantly chasing external validation, whether through women or anything else, you'll always find yourself feeling hollow. But if you focus on understanding yourself, if you spend time exploring what truly matters to you, your desires become more about growth and connection rather than just satisfaction. Now, Aristotle's view of balance brings us an important lesson for today, too. Let's face it, modern relationships can often feel like they read either all about chasing passion or they read too comfortable and predictable. In either case, you're probably wondering, where's the balance? Where's the middle ground between the desire for intimacy and connection and the need for space, freedom, and self-expression? Aristotle would say the answer lies in self-control. That doesn't mean repressing your desires or pretending like they don't exist. It means understanding that your sexuality doesn't define who you are as just a part of you. And it's a part that can be expressed healthily, consciously, and respectfully. When it comes to relationships with women, this means taking responsibility for your desires and being aware of what drives them. Don't let your desire control you, take control of it. Aristotle teaches us that desire should be a tool for growth, not a force that pulls us in every direction. But, of course, we can't ignore the fact that sexual desire often becomes complicated. In modern relationships, desire isn't always as simple as Aristotle might have hoped. Let's talk about Schopenhauer's view of desire and how it shows up today. In a world that often feels like it's full of endless possibilities, more options, more people, more experiences, Schopenhauer might say that satisfaction is always just out of reach. Think about how easy it is to get caught in a cycle of dating apps, casual encounters, and fleeting moments of pleasure. Sure, you might satisfy one desire, but how long does that last? How often do you find yourself wanting more, never truly feeling fulfilled? Schopenhauer would argue that modern men are constantly trapped in this cycle of wanting and seeking, but never finding true satisfaction. The endless cycle of dating, chasing, and being caught up in the superficial aspects of attraction can leave you feeling empty and wondering if there's more to this life than just temporary pleasure. That's where we need to take a deeper look at what we're really after. Are we chasing after the wrong things, only to realize that the satisfaction we get is short-lived? Or are we truly seeking something that connects us to something meaningful, something that goes beyond fleeting attraction? Schopenhauer's view challenges you to ask yourself, what's truly important? What will satisfy you long-term, beyond the chase and the momentary pleasures? Now, Freud's ideas about the unconscious mind bring us another important layer to think about in relationships. Most of the time, we like to think that we're fully aware of our desires and motivations. But Freud suggests that a lot of our desires are hidden from us. They reburied in the unconscious mind. These hidden desires shape how we interact with women, how we experience attraction, and even how we build our relationships. If you've ever wondered why you're drawn to certain people, or why your relationships sometimes feel like they're repeating the same patterns, Freud's work can give you some answers. Your past, your childhood experiences, and your unconscious emotions can influence your current desires in ways you don't even realize. Maybe there are things from your past that you haven't fully processed, things that are driving your relationships today. This is where taking a deeper look at yourself becomes key. Understand your unconscious motives. Understand why you were drawn to certain types of women, or why you react a certain way in relationships. By understanding yourself on a deeper level, you can break free from old patterns and start building healthier relationships that are based on a better understanding of who you are and what you truly want. So far, we've seen that desire is not simple. It's complicated, it's layered, and is shaped by our past, our society, and our biology. But here's the good news. You don't have to be trapped by it. The more you understand why you desire what you do, the more control you have over it. The more you align your desires with what truly matters to you, the more fulfilling your relationships with women can be. It's about understanding your deepest needs, your unconscious drives, and learning how to channel them into relationships that bring true connection, not just short-term satisfaction. By doing so, you don't just experience desire, you master it. And when you do that, you open the door to deeper, more fulfilling connections, not just with women, but with yourself. And that's the real power. It's not about controlling others or even trying to win at relationships. It's about understanding yourself and using that knowledge to create the kind of intimacy, connection, and fulfillment that lasts. All right? Now we've covered a lot of philosophical ground, right? We've been seeing how Plato's spiritual view of desire challenges us to think of sexuality as a higher pursuit, how Aristotle's teachings on balance can help us live with more control and understanding of our desires, and how Schopenhauer, and Freud's ideas about desire, while dark, reveal the truth that we often chase after, what never fully satisfies. But let's bring all of this into the present moment, into your real life. And let's talk about how to apply these ancient philosophies in modern relationships. Because here's the reality, my friend. Even though these ancient philosophers might seem far removed from the world of dating apps, social media, and modern relationships, their ideas are more relevant today than ever before. In fact, the wisdom they offer can help you navigate the complexities of attraction, dating, and building lasting relationships with women in a way that aligns with who you truly are and what you actually want. First things first, desire is not something to be ashamed of. We live in a society where sexuality is often either over-sexualized or repressed. On one hand, we're told that men should constantly be chasing women, and that their worth is measured by how many women they can attract, how many conquests they can rack up. On the other hand, men are often made to feel guilty or ashamed for having sexual desires, as if there's something inherently wrong with wanting intimacy or connection. The truth is, desire is natural. It's part of being human, part of being a man. How you channel that desire is what really matters. Aristotle's approach of balance is exactly what we need to hear today. Instead of letting desire control you, you need to control your desire. What does that look like? First, it means understanding your desires, not just acting on them blindly or impulsively. Ask yourself, why do I desire this? What am I truly looking for when I connect with a woman? Is it just physical attraction, or is it a desire for something deeper? Plato would encourage you to ask that question because, at its core, true desire is about connection, not just physical satisfaction. It's about seeking something that elevates you, something that brings meaning to your life. And this is key. When you're truly connected with a woman on a deeper level, the desire you feel is not just about the act of sex. It's about creating something meaningful together. This brings us to a critical point. Today's world is flooded with distractions, with easy ways to satisfy surface-level desires. Dating apps, casual encounters, and even social media have created an environment where it's easier than ever to seek instant gratification without any real emotional or intellectual connection. Can swipe, match, chat, and hook up all in the span of a few hours. But does this actually fulfill you? Does it leave you feeling connected, seen, understood? Or does it just leave you feeling empty, like you've checked off a box, but that box wasn't the one that really mattered? Schopenhauer's view about the frustrating nature of desire in modern life hits the nail on the head. We've all been there seeking something in the moment, but after the satisfaction fades, we feel as if something is missing. Why? because chasing after the wrong things doesn't lead to fulfillment. Real desire, according to Plato, is rooted in seeking beauty and wisdom, not just in physical attraction, but in a deeper understanding of yourself and the other person. So, how do you break the cycle of fleeting desire and frustration? It starts with taking a step back. Be mindful of the type of connection you're seeking. Are you looking for something meaningful? Or are you just trying to fill a void that will always feel empty once the desire is satisfied? Cute. Don T. have to take a vow of celibacy or completely reject the physical aspects of attraction. What we're talking about here is intent. Are you pursuing a connection based on authenticity, honesty, and a desire for real intimacy? Or are you just looking to scratch an itch? I get it, sometimes the world around you, especially with the pressure of dating apps and hookup culture, makes it easy to fall into the trap of chasing instant gratification. But if you take Aristotle's wisdom to heart, you'll realize that desire should serve a higher purpose. It's not just about physical pleasure or proving something to others. It's about fulfilling your deeper needs and building something that lasts. Okay. Now, let us talk about Freud's unconscious mind and how it plays into the way you experience relationships with women. Do you ever wonder why you're attracted to certain types of women, or why some relationships feel like they're repeating the same old patterns? Freud believed that many of your desires, especially sexual desires, are shaped by things you're not even fully aware of. Things like your childhood experiences, your early relationships with your parents, and your unconscious thoughts all influence the way you experience intimacy today. If you're struggling with unresolved conflicts or patterns from the past, they're going to show up in your relationships. For example, maybe you're constantly drawn to women who remind you of your mother. Or you might find yourself in relationships that feel like emotional roller coasters full of passion, but also chaos. Understanding these unconscious forces can be the key to breaking old patterns and finding a healthier, more balanced way to experience desire. Freud's message is clear. You need to understand yourself. If you're not aware of the unconscious desires that are driving your actions, you'll find yourself stuck in patterns that never truly satisfy you. The more you understand why you're drawn to certain people or why certain situations trigger certain reactions, the more you can take control of your desires. You can learn to approach relationships with more awareness and intention rather than being controlled by unconscious forces. Finally, I want to leave you with this. Take control of your narrative, okay? It's easy to let society dictate how you should experience desire or how you should interact with women. But the truth is, your desire is yours. The way you approach women, the way you build connections, okay? And the way you pursue intimacy should be aligned with who you are, what you value, and what you want in life. The world around you will always push you toward quick fixes and instant gratification. But deep down, you know that real connection takes time, patience, and understanding. It's about connecting with yourself first, and then connecting with women in a way that's authentic and meaningful. Desire isn't something to be ashamed of, it's something to be understood. Okay. It's something to be channeled. Okay. And when you can align your desires with your true self, that's when you start to build meaningful, lasting relationships. That's when you start to master your desires rather than letting them control you. And that, my friend, is where true fulfillment lies. Now that we've covered the foundations of male desire, how it's shaped by philosophy, psychology, and biology, it's time to talk about how to apply all of this in your life, specifically in your relationships with women. Because here's the thing, all the theories, all the intellectual insights in the world are great, but they don't matter if they don't make a difference in your real life. We're not just talking about understanding desire on an academic level. No, the real value is in how you use this knowledge to build better relationships, not just with women, but with yourself. This is the part where it gets real, where we put all these ideas into action. Let's begin by talking about authenticity. One of the biggest challenges modern men face today is navigating the tension between societal expectations and true self-expression. You're constantly told what a man should look like, how he should act, what he should desire, and how he should treat women. But what if those expectations don't align with who you truly are? What if you've been chasing what you thought you were supposed to want, only to realize that it's left you feeling empty? Authenticity is about understanding yourself deeply and being true to what you really want. It's about not just going after what seems like an easy win, but choosing relationships that are rooted in authentic connection. Plato's idea of love as a pursuit of truth and beauty can guide you here. Instead of just pursuing superficial attraction, consider what deep connection means to you. What do you truly desire when you connect with a woman? Is it just the thrill of the chase, or is it the opportunity to explore mutual growth, to connect on a meaningful level, to share experiences that bring out the best in both of you? In today's world, it's easy to get distracted by the allure of the quick fix hookups, short-term relationships, and online dating, where the goal is often just instant validation. But at the end of the day, that gratification fades. Plato would remind you that true love is about more than just satisfaction. It's about elevating each other, learning from one another, and growing together. And that doesn't come from chasing after surface-level desires. It comes from choosing to invest in relationships that challenge you to become a better person. Now, let's talk about intention. Why are you really pursuing a relationship with a woman? Are you doing it because you feel like you should? Because it's what society says a man should do? Or are you doing it because you want to connect with her on a deeper level? Because you value who she is as a person and want to create a lasting bond? Aristotle's wisdom on balance can help here. Balance doesn't just mean controlling your desires. It means understanding them. Ask yourself, what am I looking for? Is it just physical attraction, or do I want something more? And if you truly want something more, how can you align your actions with that desire? Relationships built on intention are more than just about fulfilling your immediate needs. They are about building a life together based on shared goals, values, and vision. This kind of intention requires patience and clarity. When you approach relationships from a place of authenticity and intention, you're not just looking for instant gratification. You're looking for depth, and that's where you'll find real connection. Let's take a moment to talk about vulnerability, because I know it can be tough for men to fully embrace. But the reality is, vulnerability is necessary for meaningful relationships. Schopenhauer's dark view on desire reminds us that sometimes we can't escape the sense of longing and frustration. But vulnerability is the gateway to breaking that cycle. It's in allowing yourself to truly connect with another person, to let down your guard and show who you really are. Okay? That you create the foundation for something that goes beyond surface level attraction. Think about it. When do you feel closest to someone? When do you truly feel seen? It's not when you're putting up walls, pretending to be someone you're not, or just trying to win them over. It's when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to share your fears, desires, and imperfections. This is how true intimacy is built. Freud's ideas about the unconscious mind reveal that much of our behavior is shaped by things we're not fully aware of. And guess what? The same goes for vulnerability. When you let yourself be vulnerable with a woman, you start to understand more about yourself, your unconscious desires, your past wounds, and your deeper needs. In a healthy relationship, this type of vulnerability leads to growth. You learn to let go of outdated patterns and connect with someone in a way that feels genuine and alive. Now, let's talk about how to deal with the pressure of modern dating. We've all been there, swiping through apps, feeling the pressure to find the one, getting caught up in the rush of quick, short-term connections. But here, say reality check. Modern dating can be exhausting if you, Dan T, have a clear sense of self. And that's where understanding desire comes into play. When you're aware of your deeper needs and desires, when you know what truly fulfills you, not going to settle for just any connection. You're going to be more selective. You're going to know that real connection takes time, patience, and effort. Evolutionary psychology tells us that our desire for sex and intimacy is rooted in biological imperatives. But it also tells us something deeper. Quality over quantity. It's not about how many people you meet or how many dates you go on. It's about finding someone you truly connect with on a meaningful level. That's what's going to bring you fulfillment, not just satisfying a biological need, but connecting on a deeper level that aligns with who you are. Mastering desire in modern relationships doesn't mean suppressing your urges. It means understanding them, guiding them with intention, and choosing relationships that fulfill you on all levels. So, here as the takeaway from all of this, you have the power to define your relationships on your own terms. You can take the lessons from Plato, Aristotle, Schopenhauer, Freud, and evolutionary psychology and use them to create healthier and more authentic connections. It all starts with understanding your own desires and using that understanding to guide your relationships, not just to chase after what is easy, but to build something meaningful and lasting. When you do that, when you live with intention and vulnerability, when you understand yourself and your desires deeply, you'll find that real connection with women is not only possible, it's inevitable. Now that we've explored the philosophical, psychological, and even evolutionary aspects of male sexuality, let's get down to the practical part. How do we take all this wisdom, this deep understanding of desire, create relationships that are truly meaningful and fulfilling? This is the moment where you, as a man, have the chance to really take charge of your life and relationships. So let us talk about how to create the life you want, the kind of life where your desires align with your deepest values, and where you attract the kind of woman who resonates with the real you. Let's face it, relationships can be complicated, and when it comes to intimacy, there's a lot of pressure. Modern society has thrown a lot of ideas at us. Be successful, be confident, look perfect, and don't show weakness. But the truth is, these pressures don't define who you are or who you can be in a relationship. They're external forces trying to pull you in different directions. Instead, what defines you in a relationship is your authenticity. The more you understand your desires, the more you can approach relationships in a way that aligns with your true self. How do you begin? First, start with self-awareness. What do you truly want? You may think you know, but when you strip away all the distractions and pressures, what is it that your heart truly craves in a relationship? Intimacy, connection, respect, adventure. Understanding this gives you a clear starting point. The next step is to build self-confidence. But here's the difference. Genuine self-confidence, doesn't come from external validation. Comes from knowing who you are and being comfortable with that knowledge. Aristotle's wisdom on balance plays a key role here. Confidence isn't about being brash or loud. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, comfortable with your desires, and comfortable in your approach to relationships. Confidence in your sexuality, in your masculinity, comes from understanding that desire doesn't have to control you. You control it. When you approach relationships from this place of authentic self-assurance, you're not trying to prove anything to anyone. You're just being who you are, and that's enough. Now, let's talk about how to create attraction. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. This is about showing up as your true self and allowing the woman you're with to see who you really are. Attraction isn't just about physical appearance or charmet. It's about the energy you bring to the table. When you can be confident in your desires and open in your emotional vulnerability, you become magnetic. And that's the key to building meaningful relationships. I want to make something clear here. True attraction goes both ways. It's not just about impressing a woman. It's about finding someone who truly connects with you on a deep level, And that starts with being willing to open up. This brings us to one of the most important things you can do in relationships: build emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy is not about being perfect, but about being genuine. It's about sharing your thoughts, your vulnerabilities, your fears, and your dreams, and allowing your partner to do the same, When you create emotional intimacy, it creates a space where both partners can feel seen, heard, and understood. This kind of connection is what separates short-term encounters from long-term, fulfilling relationships. Think about it. When you're emotionally intimate with someone, you're no longer just two people acting out a role. You're two people sharing your authentic selves. This is where true intimacy happens. But emotional intimacy doesn't just happen overnight. It requires vulnerability and trust. It means letting go of the need to control everything and allowing yourself to be open with the woman you be with. The more you practice vulnerability, the deeper your connection will become. And let's not forget that emotional intimacy is just as important as physical attraction. In fact, it's the foundation for long-lasting sexual connection. Freud's insight about unconscious desires reminds us that there's often more beneath the surface of our sexual attraction. Sometimes, what we're really looking for in a partner is someone who understands us, someone who sees us, and someone who makes us feel whole. And that's where emotional intimacy plays a critical role. It's not just about sex, it's about feeling truly connected, feeling like you can be your real self with all your flaws and still be loved and accepted. Let's talk about the real power of communication in relationships. Communication is key, not just in terms of expressing your needs, but in truly listening to what your partner is saying. A lot of men believe that communication is all about speaking their minds, but communication also involves being able to listen. To truly hear what the woman you're with needs, what she desires, what she fears, and what she's going through. This requires patience and empathy. Aristotle's balance comes into play here once again. You don't need to be a mind reader, but you do need to be present. When you communicate openly, when you listen and respond with compassion, you create a safe space for the relationship to grow. This is how you create mutual respect, which is essential for any relationship. Respect is the foundation upon which everything else is built. If you can build emotional intimacy, practice vulnerability, and communicate openly and honestly, you create the kind of bond that can last a lifetime. Now, let's address something very real and very necessary: sexual compatibility. Understanding each other's sexual desires and boundaries is key to building a healthy relationship. Plato's view on desire speaks to this point perfectly. He believed that true attraction and desire go beyond the physical. They also involve a meeting of minds. When you're truly connected to someone, it's not just about how they look, but how you both express your desires, your intimacy, and your affection for each other. Being honest about your needs, communicating what you want sexually, and respecting your partner's desires in return creates a relationship that is both emotionally and physically fulfilling. It's about respecting each other's boundaries and building mutual pleasure. Finally, patience is key. Relationships take time, and it's important to understand that you're not in a race to satisfy all your desires at once. Building something meaningful takes patience, dedication, and the willingness to work through challenges together. It's about finding someone you can grow with, learning from each other, and building a connection that goes deeper than surface-level attraction. So, take it slow. Let the connection build naturally. This is how you build a lasting relationship that's grounded in respect, understanding, and mutual desire. Now that we've explored how Plato, Aristotle, Schopenhauer, Freud, and evolutionary psychology all shape our understanding of male sexuality and desire, it's time to ask the important question: what do you do with all of this knowledge? You've learned a lot about desire, how it's not just about physical attraction, how it's shaped by unconscious forces, and how it can either be your greatest strength or your deepest source of frustration. But now, how do you take these insights and create the life you want? How do you build a relationship with women that's not only healthy but meaningful? The truth is, the future of your desire doesn't just happen. It's something that you have to consciously work towards every day. And I want to give you the tools to do just that. Let's start with this idea. You can change anything in your life until you change how you see yourself. Your relationship with women, your attraction to them, and your ability to create intimacy with them all stem from your self-image. If you're not confident in who you are as a man, if you don't understand your own desires, If you're constantly looking for validation from external sources, it's going to show up in your relationships. But here's the thing. You have the power to change that. You don't need to be perfect. You, Dan T., need to fit into anyone else's idea of what a man should be. What matters is becoming the best version of yourself. And this all starts with self-awareness. The more you understand your own desires, your motivations, and your insecurities, the more control you have over them. This doesn't mean suppressing your desires. It means owning them. It means understanding that you can be the man who embraces his sexuality in a way that aligns with his deeper values, in a way that enhances his relationships, rather than drives him into endless cycles of frustration. Once you understand your own desires, the next step is to embrace vulnerability. Okay, I know this isn't easy for a lot of men. Okay, society teaches us that vulnerability is a weakness. We're told that to be a man, we have to be stoic, invincible, and always in control. But in reality, vulnerability is the doorway to true connection. It's through vulnerability that we show up as authentic, real human beings who are worthy of love and intimacy. Think about the times in your life when you felt closest to someone. It's not when you were pretending to be someone you're not. It's not when you were hiding your emotions. It's when you allowed yourself to be open, when you let someone truly see you. This is the essence of emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. Okay, it's what separates the fleeting, physical connections from the deep, soul-level bonds. And let me tell you this, women are drawn to men who are not afraid to open up. It's not about oversharing, but it is about being authentic, about letting your guard down just enough to let her see who you really are. Aristotle's wisdom about balance shows up here as well. Vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing or being emotionally volatile. It's about measured vulnerability, being open without being reckless. It's about knowing when to share and knowing when to maintain your composure. Balance means finding the right level of openness while maintaining your self-respect. Vulnerability creates trust, and trust is the bedrock of any lasting relationship. Once you've started embracing vulnerability, it's time to build authentic connection. And that's where your intentions come into play. What do you want from a relationship with a woman? It's easy to get distracted by the surface, by physical attraction, by a desire for validation or status. Mastering it, using it to create meaningful, respectful, and fulfilling relationships, that's where the real magic happens. The key is to align your desires with your deeper values and to approach relationships not from a place of neediness or ego, but from a place of authentic connection and growth. You have the power to create the life and relationships you want. So, ask yourself, what kind of man do you want to be? The choice is yours. But if you're honest with yourself, what you really want is someone who sees you for who you are, someone who respects and values you, and someone who makes you feel whole. This is where the application of Plato's philosophy becomes powerful. When you approach women with authenticity and integrity, the connection you build is no longer based on surface-level attraction, but on something much deeper, mutual respect and understanding of each other as individuals. The best relationships are the ones where both partners grow together, where each person challenges the other to be better, to evolve, and to connect on a deeper level. The best way to build that type of relationship is by leading with your true self, your real feelings, your true desires. And here's where respect comes in. You might think that respect in relationships is just about being kind and treating the other person well. But true respect means more than that. It means honoring each other's boundaries, valuing each other's emotional needs, and being willing to make room for the other person's growth. When you respect a woman's emotional needs, when you respect her autonomy, and when you allow her to be her full self, you open the door to something beautiful. Relationships built on mutual respect grow into something that endures. Next, let's talk about sexuality, because let's face it, that's a big part of any relationship, right? So, how do you apply these insights to your sex life? The key here is to understand that true intimacy isn't just about physical pleasure. It's about mutual connection. Physical attraction is important, but it's not everything. When you connect on an emotional and intellectual level, when you've built trust and respect, the physical side of things will follow naturally. And this is where you can create mutual satisfaction, not just in terms of sex, but in terms of emotional fulfillment. Understanding each other's sexual desires, boundaries, and needs is part of that process. And it's important to realize that sexuality is not static. Yes, your relationship grows, so too should your sexual connection. Be open, communicate about what you like and don't like, and create a safe space where both of you can explore what truly fulfills you. Finally, let's talk about patience. Building the kind of meaningful, fulfilling relationships we've been talking about takes time. It takes patience with yourself, patience with the process, and patience with the other person. It's easy to get discouraged, especially in a world that moves fast. But I promise you, the relationships that stand the test of time are the ones built slowly with intention, understanding, and respect. Evolutionary psychology reminds us that our desire for intimacy and connection is rooted in deep biological impulses. But true satisfaction comes when we choose to build relationships based on trust, mutual respect, and emotional depth. Don't rush. Take the time to build something real. When you do this, when you approach relationships with a foundation of authenticity, vulnerability, and respect, you will find that the desire you feel is no longer just about getting it, as about creating something truly meaningful. And there you have it. Understanding desire is just the beginning.